when you are working with buyers in this market, it is easy to get overwhelmed because you have to stay on top of when a house comes on the market, immediately rush your people over and be prepared, have them prepared to write a really strong offer. There's a lot that is going into it. So I want to introduce my panelist. I'm Jenny Williams, and I've been with EXP for almost 2 years and absolutely love this company. I've been in real estate for 23 years and just got back in sales at the beginning of last year after coaching real estate agents in their businesses and doing their marketing for 10 years. So happy to be here with you today. And I want you to meet my awesome friends here. I've got Chad Beasley that I'm actually looking at on stage here. Hey, Chad, welcome.
Are you looking at the back of my head?
No, I'm
Hey, I
looking at
wanted
the
to know,
side.
was I supposed to do a wardrobe change in between classes?
No, you're good. So, y'all, Chad is the
That's
number
funny.
one. He is the number one agent in his town, and he has been with us just over 1 year, and which should close around 25 million in sales this year. So, at same time of experience, 23 years experience, is an awesome agent, and he is a super nice guy. So, my friend Gusty Goulis is here, and y'all, he is the number one team in all of Alabama, not just Birmingham. He is a mega icon agent. Oh, I forgot to say that Chad was an icon and a double diamond. But Gusty is a larger than life character that has closed over 400 homes this year with his team, and really knows how to convert, not only generate that buyer lead, but knows how to convert that buyer lead like a pro. And also want to welcome Ashley Davis. Ashley is on the G3 Gus Eagles team as a leader of that team, and her input from training agents on the team to convert those buyer leads and her own success at it is going to be such wonderful information for you today. So welcome to How to Convert Buyers and Avoid Overwhelm in a Fast Moving Market. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. All right, so let's start with talking about, all right, where are we going to get these buyer leads? Gusty, you have a lot of lead sources. I think you've said you've got like 26 lead sources that you use for your team. What do you feel is the best one to generate buyer leads?
I mean, it's always sphere of influence and reaching out to those folks and clients and the referrals. That's always going to be your number one. But I think the other places. I mean, we do a lot of Zillow business. A lot of people love Zillow. A lot of people hate Zillow. It's kind of like a necessary evil in my opinion, but we do a lot of business from Zillow. We also are one of Dave Ramsey's endorsed providers. So we do a lot of business with Dave's team and their referrals. And but we do get Google pay-per-click, we do Facebook ads, we do Realtor.com, we do got hooked up with all kinds of different real estate referral websites. We do client appreciation events. I mean, we're kind of try to be anywhere and everywhere. Oh, we're on the radio, that too. So every little piece of marketing that you're out there is one little way to generate buyer interest and buyer leads.
Well, Ashley is part of the G3 team, and I know that y'all are probably overwhelmed with a lot of buyer leads that come in daily.
Yeah, so we all rotate on lead days, so that kind of help with being overwhelmed. But like I said, I think we do a lot of business with Zillow, and that's probably like your hottest leads that's going to come through are the ones that come Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, those are like people that are ready to kind of get out and look now, or they think they are. You got to do all the steps, but some of our Google pay-per-click ads and things like that, those are colder leads. Not to say they're not eventually going to be hot leads, because they will. I have one that I've had since the first time when I joined the team 3 years ago, and we just closed a couple months ago. So, and they came through kind of Google pay-per-click. So, it's just having the patience to get there. But I think all the ways that you can get yourself there is going to bring you successful leads. It's up to you to like nourish those leads and follow up with those leads to get them to convert.
Absolutely. So, what is your first step in your conversion process?
My first step really is, I know everybody I would love to say that like I have a script, but I don't. My first step is, well, I mean, I guess it's getting them on the phone. But when I get them on the phone, I treat them to already know them and that they're my client already. And I'm not trying to sell them something, so because the majority of this business is about creating relationships. So I treat them like I would any person that I've been showing to for forever, and try to get them comfortable with being able to talk to me about things. So really, I mean, my first phone call is, how can I help you? What questions do you have? Just want to touch base with you and see how I can help. It's not, what house do you want to go look at? Are you approved? What's your price point? It's really trying to meet where they are.
Right. So, simply, how can I help?
Yeah.
I got your contact information because you requested XYZ. How can I help?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I just wanted to touch base with you and see what questions you had and how I can help you. And then they just kind of start talking at that point. So, I mean, most of the time, they've come to Zillow or they've registered on a website on Facebook. So, you tell them that it's just, hey, this is Ashley with the Gusty Goulas Group. We saw that you just registered on, our website. Just wanted to touch base with you, the questions you have and how I can help. And then they just go into it. What house are you looking at? Oh, have you gotten pre-approved? I've had people like, you kind of go through that whole, let's get you pre-approved before I meet you. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get in front of them, trying to get the appointment set, because if I can do that, then I can convert you to being a true client that we have like a working relationship with, instead of one I've got to constantly, call 15 to 20 times to get the appointment. So I'm trying to get in front of you from the minute I talk to you on the phone.
I love it. That's fantastic. So, here's a big question. What if they don't answer the phone?
Keep calling. I don't typically leave voicemails. I will after a while, but I will call and then I'll follow up with a text. Like, this pretty much the same thing I would say if they answered the phone. I put it in text message, and then I kind of close out my text with like, I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let me know it's a good time to talk. And you might send that 5 or 6 times before somebody responds, but in our business and in any sales, like, you can't have thin. So people are going to tell you no, and people are going to answer the phone, and people might be rude at first, but they'll eventually remember that you're creating a relationship with them. They will come kind of back around.
Okay, I love that. So many people are not answering the phones these days. For you in the audience working buyer leads, are you having that experience where you can't get through?
Jenny, I'd like to circle back to something that Ashley was saying. She was saying that she doesn't use a script, and I and you know me, I don't use one either. But then again, if you think about it, there are certain things that we all, when we're talking to people, when we're following up on calls, certain things that we want to hit on and everything. And so even when you're not using a script, you're sort of using a script. But I think, and Gusty put this word in the chat box there, authenticity. I think that's the key. If you're sitting there reading word for word from a script, people can see through that. They can smell a salesman a mile away. But if you approach people when they're ready, from a point of being helpful. And like Ashley said, hey, how can I help you? What is it what made you register? What are you looking for? Because they're looking for something, how can I help you today? And find out what it is they need help with. And then it's about starting a relationship on those that first few calls and first time you meet somebody. And I'm with you, Ashley. I'm not one that is militant about making sure I've got a pre-approval letter before I meet somebody. I'll ask some questions to make sure that, I'm getting answers that makes me feel good about that. The chances are fairly good that I'm not wasting my time, but I think it's important to get in front of them and have a chance to build a relationship. And then maybe you take that step toward getting them pre-approved before you spend, days and days driving around in your car.
I can't agree with that more, because these are people, and we don't want to treat them like they're only as good as their credit score. They're only worthy of our time if they can buy, because people who can't buy today can buy tomorrow. And I'm the same way. I like to get to know you first and see how I can serve and help, and then worry about some of those things later. I'm going to get to all of that whenever we do a buyer consultation. So, how many people are, how have y'all changed with COVID, and even with how Zillow is? How have you changed your consultations, Gusty?
I tell you, we really hadn't changed that much because we've always been pretty virtual. We've done Zoom, and I think the benefit of that is the clients were open to doing either a FaceTime consultation or a Zoom consultation. So that's probably been the biggest difference, is like, hey, our customers, our clients are just more open to just a little bit differences. But I mean, we've always been, as virtual as possible.
I've been doing FaceTime consultations just because people seem to be a lot more open to it. But how, in your opinion, if you're working a lot of Zillow leads, how are you getting your consultations done? Do you show first and then do a consultation, or do you meet to do a consultation before you show? Ashley, you'd probably be a good one to answer that.
Yeah, we'll let Ashley do this one.
My consultation is during that first showing. So, I mean, I rarely sit and make a coffee meeting to have like a buyer consult. So I feel like, we get that first meeting, I take my buyer information with me. And I'm kind of doing my LP mama, and more getting to know them and that true consultation kind of while we're walking around that first house. And kind of how I handle the pre-approval question is like, okay, they've seen this house, and now do they love it? Do they want to put in an offer on it? Are we still looking? And that is able to kind of lead me into the where are we on pre-approval. And if they're not approved, I have the conversation, kind of standing in the house with them. Like, okay, well, I've got a couple go-to lenders. I would love to connect you with them. It's a 15-minute phone call conversation. Let's make sure we're looking at houses that we can get, because I really don't, I don't want you to fall in love with a house that I cannot win for you or get for you. And then typically they're good with that. And then I get in the car, I wait on them to call the lender. I get in the car, I text my lender, and then I put everybody in a group text and introduce them. And then typically just kind of runs from there. So most of the time my consult is in that first showing. And if they're not a super hot lead, then my consults just kind of throughout our phone calls, because you can build that rapport and develop that relationship with them, and be the person that they want to work with. They're going to answer your phone calls. They're going to respond to text messages. When you send them houses, they're going to say, yeah, let's go look at it, or no, I don't like that one. You typically can't get 2 houses from me until I am kind of tying down on that pre-approval. So I am not driving around town showing everything and then realizing we're looking at things we can't get. learned that the hard way in my first year of business. I'll do it about twice.
Okay, thank you for that, because I think that's very insightful about conversion, because you've got to connect and build rapport with the buyer in order to convert. So one of the trends that I've been seeing, and I'd love to hear from the audience on this, is a lot of buyers are calling the listing agent to see houses because they feel like they could negotiate better. Are you seeing all of this in the audience? I'm definitely seeing it in a certain price range as well. That 500,000 price range. And Justin, I like how you said I specifically mentioned to them not to do that. And I'm seeing it just more and more that they're going straight to the listing agent. They don't really want an agent of their own. So, Gusty, have you been seeing this?
Yeah, we've been seeing it, and I think that look, customers, clients out there, they want an edge. Especially when they're, the second, third, fourth offer on a property, or they've made offers on 2, 3, 4 houses and not, gotten the deal, then they're just doing anything that they can to create a competitive advantage. Look, the seller, as a listing agent, your fiduciary responsibility is to generate the most money and the best terms for your client. And so, somebody can do that if somebody comes directly in. You just, they're the other person can represent them. So we're seeing it, not terribly often, but it's definitely come up a few times.
Yeah, it's strange that I've had about 3 of those on one recent listing. Chad, you've got so much inventory out there. Are you seeing this a lot with buyers?
I see it every now and then. It's not been rampant. I had it happen last week with it's a young attorney that works for a title company that we all know and love, and he reached out to me about one of my listings, and I showed it to him. He told me up front that he wasn't going to use a buyer's agent because he was concerned with upsetting the other agents that he works with if he chose one. So he called me directly, and I'm like, that's fine. We'll go look at it. After a couple of days of thinking, I ended up getting 2 offers on it. I let him know about it, and he decided he wanted to make an offer too. I said, that's fine. So then he proceeds to tell me he wants to make the offer with the commission rate reduced to reflect the fact that he didn't have a buyer's agent, which on this particular property, it was there's a relocation company involved, and the relocation company's paying the commission. So I informed him quickly that the commission was not even on the table, that it was being paid by a third party. So anyway, you just see that every now and then. Usually when I pick up on that from people that they're doing that, I'll show them the house, but I don't give them a whole lot of time because I'm not going to waste my time trying to convert them and try to get them to work with me if that's sort of their way they're bent in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly what actually throughout this year I've had from so many people. Hey, so I didn't bring my own agent, so I get, this half totally off of the price, right? No. So I thought it was worth bringing up just because, I've seen a lot of that happen this year. And we need the scripts behind that to anticipate that. Probably a lot of video education would be good, which, social media is a great way for you to attract buyer leads. And, your sphere of influence are normally going to be, and referrals are going to be your number one buyer that you want to work with. And I would say is that mainly your buyer lead source, Chad, or referrals?
Yeah, most of the buyers that I'm working with at this point in my career, 23 years down the road, most of my buyers are either sellers who are then, I've got their home listed and they're going to turn around and buy another house, or they're, somebody who's been referred to me, by a past client or someone in my sphere of influence, or somebody who just knows of me. And, look, the trick in this business is, people are going to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so sometimes people at least get to the point to where they think they know you through your, social media presence and, some of your advertising. Some people do a great job with video. We mentioned Mary Martin Brown in the last session, and she has done an amazing job as a first-year agent, just doing informational, sort of educational videos on her Instagram that are geared mainly toward first-time buyers, because she's 25 years old, and I mean, she's killing it. She's just got her license last December, and she's going to end up closing about $4.5 million worth of real estate this year. She's capped already in about 10 months, and so she's done an awesome job. And so, but part of that is that people have gotten to know her, or people who already sort of knew her have gotten to trust that she knows what she's talking about through the content of her videos. And so she's killing it with that. So it's just a matter of, at my point in my career, I'm getting a lot of referral and a referral business, or repeat business, are most of the buyers that I work with. But you can get people to know, like, and trust you through other ways without them even actually knowing you.
Yes, I agree completely. So, really, you just have to ask yourself, what are buyers most attracted to? And for buyer leads, and that's going to be pretty much property, right? They just want to see the properties. And you heard Gusty is big on Zillow for their team, because those leads are usually ready immediately. And what consumer research has shown is that when people see a house, they Google the address, and then Zillow spends so much money to be at the top that they normally will go to click on Zillow. And that's why it is so successful in lead generation. You don't have to do that. Buyer leads can come from so many different places. If you have, you don't want to probably get 26 lead sources like Gusty has immediately. But what you might want to do is sit down and say, okay, let me get 3. Well, the first one's always going to be your sphere of influence. And you want at least 150 people in that sphere of influence. And if you, sometimes I hear people say, well, my people aren't buying anything, or my sphere of influence, most of them have terrible credit. Well, you can create the sphere of influence anywhere that you want to work. For instance, if you want to work in a different city than the one that you currently live in, because it's a higher price point, then join an organization in that area. Go to meet all the small business owners. Join the Chamber of Commerce. Get to know people in the area that you want to work, so you can start building 150 relationships in those areas. Coaching agents throughout the years, that was a number one complaint all the time. People fighting with their sphere of influence. They weren't getting the results they wanted out of their sphere. So you can create a sphere anywhere that you want to work. So what if you're living in a different state from your sphere of influence? I'm in a new state. Okay, so you want to start meeting as many people in your new state as possible. I transferred from, I was selling over 60 houses in a small town in Mississippi, moved to Birmingham, and it took me 60 days to close my first house because I didn't know one person. So I had to go and every single day introduce myself, go to places where people were, and have conversations until I built up a sphere of influence. So I would say that for you probably, if you're in a new area, you want to meet those surveyors, you want to meet those home inspector? Do you want to meet those mortgage lenders and ask the lenders to introduce you to other people so that you can start building your network that way? And then you'll start meeting people outside of the business. Hopefully those were some good tips. Do we want to put we've got the memory jogger in here too, right? Okay, and so Zach is going to post the 7L memory jogger, and it came from 7 Levels of Communication, where it will prompt you on how to build your database. And Gusty said in the last class, it doesn't matter where it is. Like ours is in Google Sheets, and then we upload it into KV Core. We also use send out cards to keep in touch with our sphere of influence on their birthdays and their anniversaries. And sympathy, if I see something on Facebook, then I will send that out, or congratulations. It's an easy, simple, and personalized tool. Keep up with people. It's called Send Out Cards. And anybody can end up using that. So, all right, as far as buyers are concerned, right now, you know, how are you structuring your schedule, Ashley?
Oh, that's a tough question, Penny. Structure.
I know, right? It's so tough.
What schedule?
I'm not a time blocker, so I make a list of things to do and kind of start with the most important thing of the day. I started on the weekend. On Sunday, I sit down and I make a list as of Sunday, everything that I think of that I need to get done that next week. And then every night before I go to bed, I look at what needs to be done the next day. So my day doesn't stop until my list of things to do is done. So because I do get pulled in a lot of different directions and needing to help other agents, and then buyers needing to go look at something right on the spot. So I can pick up and kind of go and do those things. My day just kind of doesn't stop until my list is done.
Okay, so you're a taskmaster. You like to make that list and then check that stuff off.
Yes.
So right now, the way that the business is going, there aren't many things that are coming onto the market. So when one does come on, normally the client sends it to you first. That's kind of what I've been seeing. We've got our notifiers on, but they'll usually see it hit because they're on Zillow, and you know they need to go see it immediately, or it's going to have a contract. I know that your team last week had a house that had over 50 showings and 12 offers on it. That's tough to stand out for your buyer client, right?
Was that the one that I got beat out on, Ashley?
No, that one was one in Stonehaven and Pelham.
Yeah.
We only had
Chad, you got to bring your A.
on the one you
got to
lost.
bring your
But
A.
you're back up.
I brought my A game. My A game just had a house to sell.
Yeah, you know, we had those yet.
Okay, so let's talk about that, Chad, because that's the catch-22 right now. Nobody is doing contingencies because there's so many other offers right now that don't have to, and yet people don't want to put their house on the market until they know where they're going.
Yeah, it's the great frustration of being a realtor right now.
It is. So what kind of education you know, are you been able to provide your clients?
Well, you know, I have the conversation with most of them who have a house to sell. You know, that you've basically got a few different options. You know, one is to try to find a house. You know, once the perfect house comes along, you scramble, you go look at it, and you put a contract on it that's contingent on selling your house. But in this market, you're likely the likelihood of getting a seller to accept that contract without a break clause or a kick out clause or whatever you want to call it in there is very low. And so you're probably going to lose that house. So then you're faced with, okay, do I go ahead and put my house on the market knowing that it's probably going to sell pretty fast and the place I want to move to next may not be on the market in that time frame. So then I'm faced with moving twice and going somewhere temporary. Or thirdly, you find the house, and if you are financially able, you go ahead and put a contract on that house, not contingent on selling your home, close on that house, and then sell your old house. And so, a lot of people can't do that or aren't comfortable doing that, but I at least have those conversations with people that if you have a house to sell, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to win a negotiation when there's likely going to be multiple offers in place. So really, most people need to have a plan of, let's put the house on the market, let's get it under contract, have a plan for somewhere that we can go temporarily, because this is just not the market to be trying to compete when you've got a house to sell.
You're absolutely right. One of the things that has been working for me, and again, it's what people are comfortable doing, but I have asked people to pay for the time. Hey, let me pay you up front for 60 days. Take your house off the market. I'll pay you a good price for it. Here is XYZ amount. Pay directly to the seller to wait 60 days for my house to sell. Get it on the market, sell, and move forward. So whenever the buyer agrees to that or has the money to do that, then that has worked out for me. But that is our greatest catch-22 right now.
I had one recently that I just went to the listing agent. The house had just hit the market. I had this sweet older lady that was needing to, sell her house and move to something different. Health reasons. She just needed her driveway was kind of a little bit steep for her and things like that. So I just called the agent that I had a relationship with and just said, hey, I'm going to be writing you an offer. It's going to be contingent. I know that that's going to be tough because I know in this price range, it's going to go fast, but is there any scenario that maybe your seller would give us some time, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, without a break clause in that contract, so that I've got time to get her house on the market and get it under contract, because I think it will go fast too. And so, she knew me and trusted me, and she talked to the seller and relayed the story about the lady. And luckily that seller allowed us a few days without a break clause in there. And I got her house on the market immediately, and we had a contract on it, I think, on the first day. And so we're closing both of them tomorrow.
That's awesome. Okay, so one of the things that you just said that was very important is you called the other agent.
Yeah, text messaging does not work in this market. You need to have conversations. People need to hear emotion and know what's going on with people. I can tell a whole lot from a phone call. Even when somebody tells me something about the situation going on with a buyer's loan on one of my listings, I'll pick up the phone and call the loan officer, and I'll tell them, hey, I'm not looking for confidential information. I just want to get some information from you. And I can tell a whole lot from a 5-minute phone call, just the tone of their voice and how they answer my questions, whether things are legit or not.
I agree. And of those 56 showings that G3 had last week with 12 offers, I bet very few people called ahead. 56 showings.
That was that one on felon. Hey, but
Yes.
Chad, I'll tell you, just to follow up on what Chad said about relationships, and we're talking about having conversations. That's one of the reasons my relationship with you and us talking about kind of where your people were. You haven't had a contingency. I had 6 offers. You had a contingency. Only 2 of my offers had the contingency to sell. And so out of all the other ones, our relationship with knowing like you could get that house on the market and it could be sold probably quickly was one of the reasons why you went back.
You're making me blush.
Aww.
But that's so true. I would say to people that are listening, always call. Just ask what's important to the seller, so that you're not sending a blind offer. I was on vacation 2 weeks ago, and someone out of the blue sent me a blind offer on one of my listings, and I didn't even explain it, didn't even ask me any questions, didn't I had already had 6 offers on that property. I could have really educated the agent on how to write it and really save her some time. So I think it's super important to reach out and have a conversation before you write an offer. So let's talk about
One of my pet peeves is when I get when I just open my email and there's an offer in there that was sent to me like 3 or 4 hours before, and nobody called to let me know that they were sending me an offer.
right. Well, we're seeing it more and more in this market, and so and there you go. That was going to be my next thing I was going to say. Do you write cover letters, love letters? And yes, it depends on the situation and what came out of the conversation that I had with the listing agent as to whether we send one or not. But they work. Love letters work. Now, not always, because if you come in with a lowball offer and send a love letter, the seller's probably not going to pick you. But I can tell you that Zach, who I've been training as my marketing manager, he's been writing them for everyone, and he's been winning them. He's been getting people to take his lesser offers when they've had higher offers because he's such a great letter writer. He knows how to get right to the emotions of those sellers. So you see Ashley is saying that she has her buyers write love letters, and sometimes they'll have a sweet picture of the family on them. So I think sellers they enjoy getting those. It's fun. So that's another great way for you to win in this fast moving market, because there aren't many things to see, and you're probably going to have to go run and see one house every other day with someone, and they've got to be completely ready. They have to have their whole package done and ready to roll. So as a listing agent,
I got a letter this weekend on one of my listings, and I accused the people of stealing a picture of a couple of models from the internet or something because they were so pretty.
Now, they can backfire on you too. I had one that wrote a love letter, and one worked for a church and talked all about that, and they homeschool their children, and it was a great story, a cute picture of the family. But it was a type of loan that was a USDA loan, and these people were on a timeline. They couldn't accept a USDA. And I called the lender because I knew her, and she said, "There's nothing I can do. This is all they can go on." So the seller said, "Well, it was a sweet note, but no." And then that person knew for sure that letter was going to win it, emailed me some ugly messages. So it's funny how those sweet love letters turn into mean people. They don't get their way. It says it's a good idea to check with your local association to see if there is a policy regarding such letters. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so that was another way that you can win in this market. But what are some ways that you're staying visible to prospective buyers? And Gusty, do you want to take that?
I mean, we just try to be everywhere as far as marketing goes. Whether it's, on the radio, whether it's on Zillow, whether it's through Google or Facebook or social media, we just really try to be everywhere. A lot of times, when we're asking, "Hey, where did you hear about us from?" They actually do say you're everywhere. So that's kind of really our strategy and game plan. And Chad said it best. We kind of have a shotgun approach, and we're just out there, trying to get our name out there for marketing experts. So that's really how we present ourselves. And then we've had great success turning folks at open houses and things like that.
And social media is also just such a great way to stay in front of them. But let's say there's a longer conversion time. So Ashley, you said that your Zillow leads were ready to roll, but if they don't answer the phone, what's your follow-up plan on that, on converting those leads?
Well, if they don't answer the phone the first time, that doesn't mean they're not going to answer the phone the 18th time. I mean, from what we've always been told, is it takes somewhere between 15 and 18 touches to actually get somebody. So, if they don't answer the phone the first time, then try them the next day, try them after that. I follow up with text messages. I'm not really big on drip email campaigns, but we have them. So, you can set them up on that. Half the time people end up unsubscribing from those because they're not always completely value adding. But if you kind of know what they're looking for, then you can, like, if you've seen if it's a Zillow call, or it is somebody that's like Google pay-per-clicked an ad in Chelsea for a 4-bedroom and it's around $300,000. You can also find a house and send that to through a text message, like, saw this house in the area in which you were looking in. So Gussie will also tell you that video text messaging is very good. I'm not real big on video text messaging. He wishes I would be better at that, but video text is a good way to follow
Very
up.
true.
So it's just continuing to be consistent and sadly persistent at the same time. So just not in a stalkery, overbearing, aggressive kind of way, but will eventually answer you one way or another. And I would rather somebody jump a link than just not answer me. So kind of take them off my list at that point.
Okay, so do you try to do a majority of your phone calls the first day?
I always, if they come in that day, then they are contacted that day. And they are contacted that day by phone. And if they don't answer, also text messages. And then it's kind of, we have like 10 days of pain. So it's contacting them every day. I don't always leave a voicemail. Sometimes our phone number sometimes will show up different than other ones. You just get crafty sometimes. We've even had Gussie call if you have talk to you and then ghosted after a while. And we're like, here, you try. And then he gets them on the phone and it's all magic. So you do just want to be consistent with trying to get them, because even, like I said earlier, even though they might not want to talk to you right now, they might not think that they're ready, but that one house is going to pop up that they absolutely love. And if you are top of their mind, you are going to be the person that they reach out to, or they just might answer the phone that day and say, which has happened to me before, and been like, well, actually, there's a house I'd like to go look at. Great. What time do you want to go? And make it happen and get in front of them.
I love it. So having a game plan, having your listing leads. Having your buyer leads very specific on what lead sources you want to use. Then having your follow-up plan put in place. And then whenever you have that either showing / consultation and educating them on how to navigate this market and be prepared. Sounds like that's the direction that everyone needs to take if they're working with a lot of buyers. Anything that you want to add to that? Any of you?
No, it's this market, your buyers are going to get discouraged real easily, real quickly. So I try to maintain my positive sense of, you're going to find guys, and look, you didn't get this one because it's not your house. It's not the house that you're supposed to have. So because they do get real disappointed and discouraged, and they lose their motivation when they are constantly losing multiple offers. And you can be a fantastic agent and you can still get in multiple offer situations. So, I just try to maintain my positivity with them, because if they feel that I am also getting worn down and frustrated for them, then they are going to be that, because we project a lot onto our clients, whether we think that we really do or not. So I just try to keep them positive and motivated and just reassuring, like, hey, we didn't win this one because it wasn't supposed to be. Like, we're gonna find that one. So I think that that's the next thing, because they'll just go and rent something, or they'll just not to sell because they will get discouraged.
You're right. And education and really storytelling. I was, well, we were in the Icon Mastermind and they were talking about storytelling is a great way to educate and sell at the same time without it being salesy, because you can share, hey, I had, uh, this client had this experience and they really felt like they were trying to get a deal and they had to write 6 offers before they finally realized what kind of market we were in, and decided to pay 10,000 over and got it. So telling the stories of what people have been through, and if that's not a client of yours, borrow some client stories and say, my friend had 3 clients that XYZ. Just so that you can educate, because they do get discouraged, because write the offer, they're kind of excited and they already start seeing themselves living there. And then when you have to go back, say, oh, I'm sorry, there were 11 other offers and you didn't win. It is discouraging, and they take it as a sign a lot of times. And just like you said, Ashley, they'll go, well, I'll just rent, or I'm just going to wait till next year, or and then all the time that you've put into it, maybe for naught. So what systems, Gusty, as you're managing a large buyer volume, what systems in place do you find super important?
Well, I mean, you've got to actually, utilize CRM and use it to of its capabilities. We use a program called Town, and you can use KV Core, which is provided here at EXP, or you can use an Excel sheet. But I think it's really important to follow a task list, schedule tasks, make sure that you're categorizing all buyers so that you know how to follow up with them in a timely manner. So I think that's really the basis of it, is utilize the CRM, make sure everything is in there, and do the follow up.
All right, so as we are closing down this session, how, when you're feeling overwhelmed, what are some steps that you take when you're feeling overwhelmed? Chad, I'm gonna start with you.
In the periods where you just got so much going on and things coming at you all the time, I try to, after 23 years in this business, I keep the perspective that it's not going to stay like that. There's always ebbs and flows to this business. So, I'm pretty good at, when I'm strung out and running, all day and night, and the phone's ringing off the hook and I'm dealing with problem after problem, of just kind of keeping the perspective that, it'll slow down a little bit and I'll have an opportunity to breathe. But in addition to that, I mean, I go to the gym. That's a good way to relieve stress and just keep yourself in shape to handle things, that we deal with on a daily basis. Jennifer, my wife, and I, sometimes she'll just, when I'm just running crazy, she'll just grab me, shut the computer, and go, hey, we're going for a walk. You need to get away from this for a minute. So, I mean, sometimes you just have to step away and, give yourself a break, and try not to, we tend to care a lot about our clients, and that's good, but that means that we carry a lot of the weight of what they're going through and the stress that they're feeling, that they're about to be homeless in 2 weeks and we haven't found them a house yet, and things like that. So you just have to find ways to balance that and not let it, drive you crazy. And because you can't be there for your clients and do a good job for them if you're stressed out and strung out as well.
Yes, you're so right. So, Ashley, what do you do to help when you're feeling overwhelmed?
I'm the first to admit I'm not too good at doing anything. I've always I just kind of power through my overwhelmedness. I mean, to be quite honest, because I know that, like, there's an end to getting all of those things done. Kind of like what she was saying. Like I know there's a point in time where we're gonna hit some slower times or be able to take days or kind of do what I want to do. So really I power through. It's not the best answer. It's not really probably the best thing to do. I do work out, run in the mornings, and that just kind of gets my day started. So recently I started putting my phone down. Like at 10 p.m., my phone is down. Sometimes 9 lately, but at 10, my phone's down. Unless I'm just, somebody's called for highest and best by 10 p.m. and then I'm still working, but I'm trying to make a conscious effort to shut it down at a certain hour. And I take my hour and a half to myself in the morning before I start returning calls and text messages and things like that. And people always say to get up earlier to do those things, but sleep is important to me. So, I kind of start my day at 6:30, and that first hour and a half is to myself, and I'm not really going to talk to anybody before. So, but other than that, I just kind of power through because I know there's going to be weeks and weekends I can do what I want to do.
Well, that was probably a real answer.
Not what anybody wants to hear, but I just kind of go crazy sometimes for a little while and then get it all done.
Yeah, I do the same thing, but powering through, I mean, a lot of times we just don't have a choice. I like the, hey, let's get out of here and go for a walk. Gusty, how do you handle that?
I take that.
I was waiting for somebody to say wine.
Well, I haven't gotten to my part yet.
Hey, I think one of the biggest things for me is like I've got to have organization, and I've got a task list that I try to knock out. And if I've got anything that like stressful or pressing, then I try to knock that out ASAP. And so if I've got anything that's going to be potentially confrontational or something that is, kind of heated for a specific deal, I'll go ahead and knock it out and just get it off my plate. So that's probably one of the biggest things. I'm a soundboard for a lot of our team members, especially Ashley. So I feel like we're therapists for all of our clients. Well, I feel like everybody needs a therapist that's in real estate. So that helps.
So he's mine a couple times a day. Bless him.
Yeah, Chad and Gusty both are mine. So yes, I just because I'm also the sounding board for so many people and all of our clients. And like Chad said, most of us are very empathetic and will carry that stress. So I've implemented yoga 2 days a week in the mornings that I do through FaceTime, and lots of white wine. So those are their coping mechanisms. So,
At the same time?
That would be fun, but no, yoga's in the morning, wine's at night after I put the phone down. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here today. I hope that you saw that we posted my 6-figure day. You can follow my 6-figure day and be completely productive. It gives you all kinds of ways for you to generate leads that are fun, and it's a game that you can play every day in your business, and you want to get over 100 points. And when you have done over 100 points, then you have had a 6-figure day. So thank you. And if you want to reach out to any of us, please do. We're always happy to help, no matter what. And there should be the survey posted in here soon. There we go.
Jenny, one last thing I wanted to kind of throw out there is when working with buyers in this market, I think it's extremely important to educate them up front of what to expect, and that there may be times where you find a house that you love, and just for circumstances out of your control, you may get beat because there may be 8 offers and you don't know what those others are. But you also run into people. I think sometimes I get calls from people who they're wanting to find a deal. And I think it's important to tell people, I tell people all the time right now that this is not the market to get a deal in. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's just not normal. And so what right now your deal is in your financing. Interest rates are incredibly low. They're, just historically low. And so you've got to look at that as the deal. Your deal is in your financing, and money is almost free at this point. So kind of take that into consideration when you're thinking about offering on properties. And because if you try to beat somebody up on price, you're not going to get the house.
Well, that's true. And that's excellent advice, by the way. I do have a couple of deals that I have gotten for people this year, but the way that I explain it is absolutely we can get you a deal. If you want a house that nobody else wants, and some people are like, well, what do you mean? And some people are like, okay, I'll take, something that somebody else doesn't want. So it's their choice. Then you can go in and negotiate on that. Because those houses that nobody else has wanted and staying on the market a long time, those people are ready to roll. Um, and I just got one that closed last week that was 25,000 off asking price. Now, granted, it had been overpriced all that time, but it's just a great way to explain that to people. So thank y'all so much. We just really appreciated you showing up in EXPCon. Is EXP not the most awesome company on the planet? Yes. So thank you for being here, and thank you, Gusty and Chad and Ashley. Thank you so much. I hope that everybody has a fantastic day, and we are always happy to help you if you ever need anything at all. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Where do you find the game that you mentioned?